When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This is The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Now, here's Frank Morano.
Everybody, this is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano. I hold in my hands a list. This is a list you don't want to be on. This is a list of people that have done something unseemly, something terrible, something negative. I am holding this week's list of
The Other Side of Midnight presents Denunciations.
I must denounce the Colorado military consulting firm who basically never delivered on its promise to ship $5 million worth of face masks to New York at the peak of the pandemic. And they also apparently defrauded us of another $10 million worth of other stuff. This military and security consulting firm that never delivered on its promise to ship COVID masks to New York is being sued by the city to pay back the flubbed $15 million contract. This Colorado-based firm is so desperate to hold on to the partially prepaid contract money, it even changed its business name just days after a ruling against them last September in an attempt to defraud the city and hide their assets. What happened here was former Mayor de Blasio's administration inked a $15 million contract with the consulting and logistics firm, which at the time called itself Siege International. And the agreement was for the company to deliver 5,095,000 masks. And half the contract was prepaid to help expedite the need for supplies for first responders and medical workers. But Siege missed its first contractual deadline for the first million, and then the next one for the full 5 million. Only 800,000 masks ever made it to New York, leaving nearly 1.7 million masks paid for, but missing in action. So not only did Siege not fulfill what we paid them $15 million for, they just changed their name. Changed their name, changed their website, changed everything, but it's still the same company. Siege International, or whatever you're calling yourself these days, I do denounce you. I must also denounce the fake university that was set up by ICE. You know, I think things like this are kind of cool, right? I mean, you ever see the movie Argo? Great picture. And in that, the intelligence community basically set up a fake film production. But you've seen this again and again. You know, the FBI, when they were investigating pump and dump schemes being run by the mob on Wall Street, they set up their own kind of brokerage house Well, ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they basically set up a fake university. But here's the problem. Real students in Michigan enrolled at this university thinking that it was a real college. So, I mean, this is terrible. And now students who enrolled at this fake college can actually sue. You had this decision last week by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, and meaning that hundreds of students who paid tuition at the University of Farmington in Farmington Hills, which was created by undercover agents with ICE, they have a legal basis to continue pursuing their claims in court. In 2020, a lawsuit was filed against the government on behalf of the students who were enrolled at this college, which no longer exists after ICE shut it down and arrested at least 250 of its students. And the suit says the U.S. breached their contracts with the students by essentially stealing their tuition money, which was about $11,000 a year for each student, and they're asking for their money back and other punitive damages. I got to tell you, I think they're right. I completely agree. You can't, I understand what they were trying to do here, and more power to them. But you can't just take students' money for a college and say, all right, well, we finished our investigation. Those of you guys that enrolled here, tough, sorry. That's not right. So, to this college, University of Farmington, I do denounce you. I wanted to denounce this Oregon man who was we don't have his name as far as I could tell, who was arrested and charged with indecent exposure following an incident last Wednesday that caused an American Airlines flight to divert. Authorities said a 25-year-old man exposed himself and urinated in the airplane's aisle mid-flight. That is so disgusting. I mean, I understand it's difficult for people to hold it in at times, but do you have to urinate in the aisle? Can't you get a cup or something? It's really gross. People probably had to smell that the whole rest of the flight. Ugh. So we don't have, to this unnamed 25-year-old Oregon man, I do denounce you. I must also denounce the nation of Kenya, because there has been a rather alarming trend in Kenya of elderly people being accused of witchcraft and then getting murdered. And apparently, the real motive for accusing them of witchcraft and then murdering them is to steal their land. This is a denunciation all the way around. Nobody should get accused of witchcraft unless you're actually a witch. Nobody should get murdered, and nobody should get their land stolen. And yet, elderly people in Kenya, in Africa, are being accused of witchcraft and murdered in an apparent effort to steal their land. One 74-year-old Kenyan lost an eye and was nearly killed. His family believe a land dispute with the neighbor was the real motive. On average, listen to this. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. Raise the volume if you're listening on radio. On average, one elderly person is killed over witchcraft a week on Kenya's Kilifi coast. One a week. When you next hear me denouncing people a week from now, the Kenyans will have killed another person for witchcraft. Ownership deeds are pretty rare. So when land is passed down through generations, the only document is the narrative from these elderly people. Another man whose hands were severed with machetes after he was accused of causing the death of a child said his 6 acres of land was the real reason. My goodness. I'm so disturbed by this. So incredibly disturbed. I want to denounce Gregory Stefan Jr. Gregory Stefan Jr. is from Pennsylvania, and he ran a business that scammed hundreds of grieving customers out of about $1.5 million. So he would I run this gravestone scam that I think is just atrocious. So he would target grieving customers, somebody who's lost a loved one. Then he'd enter into a contract with them to provide a custom headstone and engraving services for their deceased loved ones that he knew he would not deliver either on the promised timeline or at all. And he demanded the customers pay large upfront payments, sometimes paying 100% of the purchase price and basically failing to deliver orders by the projected delivery date. So, I mean, this was basically running a Ponzi scheme with gravestones. Gregory Stefan Jr., I do denounce you. I must also denounce Rochester, New York. Rochester, New York has a great history. It's been done a lot of great things in society. Gave us Kodak, gave us Tom Golisano, gave us paychecks. But I must denounce Rochester because it has been named by the, according to a new study from the ADP Research Institute, as the worst city in the United States for new college graduates. If you're curious about the other cities that are not good for new college graduates, according to the research, including the statistics, Virginia Beach, Virginia, which I found very surprising, New Orleans, Louisiana, Fresno, California, Portland, Oregon, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Hartford, Connecticut, Memphis, Tennessee, Seattle, Washington, and Salt Lake City, Utah. I must denounce this reprobate, this despicable person who threw a firework at a dog in Santa Ana, California. If there, I mean, words don't exist to describe my contempt for anyone that would intentionally do harm to an animal like this, especially this beautiful dog named Romeo, who was in the front yard of a house, or, you know, where he lives, when a male drove up to the house in a sedan and threw a lit firework at the dog. Video footage captured from the incident shows the dog sniffing the firework in curiosity before it explodes in his face, causing significant burning and bleeding. Fortunately, his injuries were non-life-threatening, and his owners say he's recovering. But this is reprehensible. Obviously, we don't do this in this country, but if there was any justice in the world, somebody would throw a firework at this guy's face. Unnamed guy that threw a firework at a dog, I do denounce you. I must also denounce Amy Harris. Does that name ring a bell? Amy Harris. Well, Amy Harris is the woman who stole Ashley Biden's diary. And, that's kind of a despicable moral thing, but it's also illegal. And the woman Miss Harris, who stole Ashley Biden's diary, she gets to begin her jail sentence a day early because she got arrested for driving with a suspended license, speeding, open container of alcohol possession, weed possession, and obstruction of a cop. And this was the day before she was supposed to go to jail for the Ashley Biden diary. I mean, just think about that. Think about that. She couldn't even wait till she got out of jail for the diary theft to start committing new crimes. The day before that, she's driving with a suspended license, speeding, carrying around an open container of alcohol, possessing marijuana, and obstructing a law enforcement officer. She had pleaded guilty, if you don't remember her situation, to conspiring with a man to sell the diary to the group Project Veritas after trying to sell it to the Trump campaign in 2020 when Trump was running against Ashley Biden's father. I don't know whatever happened to that guy. All right. I want to denounce State Trooper Shane Roper of Minnesota, and I love the land of 1,000 lakes. This is an officer with a history of crashes, speeding, and reckless driving, and he's finally been arrested and charged with felonies because he has hit and killed a young woman and badly injured others. Well, he's not in custody. He is on paid leave. So Trooper Roper was charged with 5 felonies, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence creating an unreasonable risk, criminal vehicular homicide, 3 counts of criminal vehicular operation, and he's facing 2 misdemeanor charges of criminal vehicular operation. And this guy is not in custody. If you look at his record, you see nothing but a long history of crashes, speeding, and inattentive driving, all leading up to the crash that killed Olivia Flores in May. I don't know how this was able to happen. I mean, this is just incredible. Absolutely despicable. State Trooper Shane Roper, I do denounce you. And finally, I want to denounce H&L Chevrolet in Darien, Connecticut. This is a Connecticut car dealership which is in big trouble after its employees decided to go on a joyride and crashed a customer's $97,000 Camaro. And he totaled this 2018 Chevy Camaro that had just 989 miles on the clock. You expect this from the valet parker in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You do not expect this from a professional car person. You don't. So H&L Chevrolet, I do denounce you. If you want to comment on anyone I have denounced, feel free to do so. Our number, 1-646-720-0635. 1-646-720-0635. This is The Other Side of Midnight. Straight ahead.
The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k as the stock market braces for impact. I'm Larry Kudlow, and I urge you to fortify your savings with physical gold with my friends at Priority Gold. To learn how gold and silver can help diversify your savings, please call 1-800-405-GOLD or just visit PriorityGold.com to get a free gold information guide. That's 1-800-405-GOLD.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
This is Pearl Jam. If you ever want to know what kind of music we're playing on the radio program, you can join our Facebook group. Just go onto Facebook and type Morano, Morano Radio. Fans and haters, that's Morano Radio, fans and haters. This is a great example of 1990s alternative rock. And today, this is a birthday bumper music selection from Joey Morano. If that name sounds familiar, that's because it's my last name. And Joey is married to my cousin, Jason Morano. And happy birthday, Joey. I asked her what she wanted to play in honor of her birthday, and she said some 90s alternative rock. I said, what specifically? And she says, I will leave it to the professional, and who is more professional than Matt Blaze? So let's hope Matt Blaze didn't disappoint her. What's the name of this song, Matt?
This is Even Flow by Pearl Jam.
Even Flow. Very good.
Big hit in the 90s.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, I'm sure it was. All right. Our phone number is 1-646-720-0635. That is 1-646-720-0635. So, interesting day for me yesterday in that we have family staying with us. So my wife had to pick them up at the airport at 2:30 in the morning yesterday. So she was obviously not going to leave our son home alone. So, and I'm here, couldn't take him with me. He's got to sleep. So he stayed at my father and stepmother's yesterday. So I had to go and pick him up when I woke up, and he woke up and I went and picked him up, and all's well. Brought him home. It was kind of the beginning of my day. And I had an invitation last night to go to dinner at Rayo's. And if you're not familiar with Rayo's, Rayo's is a terrific Italian restaurant in East Harlem in New York. Very difficult to get into, and a very generous invitation extended to me by Gabriel Del Virginia. Gabe, great guy, great attorney, one of the best bankruptcy attorneys around. And, someone, honestly, I'd never met before. But there's a certain set of rules that I live by. And one of them, I call them collectively the Morano method. I would tell you what they are, but they're on my hard drive, which I still am unable to access. Although I'm getting closer. I'm making progress on that. So Gabe is a huge radio fan. And so one of the rules as part of the Morano method is when you get an invitation to go to Rayo's, you have to go. No matter what, you have to make yourself available to go to Rayo's. So normally I would not be home when we have family in from out of town. I would stay and have dinner with them. But, what do you get a Rayo's invitation? If you're lucky, once a year, twice a year. So he is friends with a mutual friend of mine. We have a mutual friend, and Gabe is apparently a big radio guy. So he says to our mutual friend, he says, hey, why don't you come to Rayo's with me on such and such a night? And he says, well, you can come, and do you think maybe we can get Judge Napolitano to come? Now, fortunately for me, Judge Napolitano was unavailable. So then he says to my friend, all right, well, if Judge Napolitano's not available, what about Frank Morano? And sure enough, I was available, was able to make it. So because I have to go, not have to, but I'm going to this Tony LoBianco funeral tomorrow. I didn't want to drive in because I didn't want to keep my car in a garage for hours and hours and hours. And we're going out to Long Island with my wife's family tomorrow. So the plan was after this Tony LoBianco funeral tomorrow that they would pick me up in Queens and we would drive to Long Island. So I would go to the funeral, take the train out to Queens, pick me up there, and then we would go out to Long Island. Right. Good. That's the plan. So that means I'm taking the bus and mass transit into Manhattan and going all the way uptown to Rayo's. Great. Fine. I love mass transit. Here's the issue. Yesterday was the final meeting of the Charter Revision Commission. I won't get into details as to what the Charter Revision Commission is because it's very in the weeds, even if you're a New Yorker. But the point is, I've been going to at all of these meetings and participating in all of these meetings, either in person or via Zoom. So I said, all right, I'll Zoom in to this meeting from the express bus. Meeting starts at 5. I'm due at Rayo's at 6:30. So that gives me 90 minutes of being on this Zoom, and they'll probably get to me. In addition, even more than my participation in this hearing, this was going to be the meeting that Curtis Leawood testified at on the sanctuary city issue. And let's just say I got a look at the remarks that Curtis was planning to deliver at this hearing, and they were explosive. So even more than wanting to talk myself, I wanted to see what Curtis Leawood was going to say at this hearing. So I figured, let me use this long bus ride to get some work done. And so I turn on the Wi-Fi on my phone and I start getting work done on the computer, going through some emails, preparing for the show, so on and so forth. And I start watching the Zoom of the Charter Revision Commission hearing. Of course, it doesn't start on time. Why would it start on time? This is city government. So they're 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late. And I see the battery on my phone is almost dying. All right, no big deal. Let me see. I must have a charger in my bag here. Oh, no. Okay, no charger. I left that one at home. I must have a portable charger. Oh, no, I left that in my other bag. Okay, no big deal. I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi on my phone or turn off my hotspot on my phone. And I'm on the bus. I know the bus has Wi-Fi. I am just going to turn on the Wi-Fi, use the bus's Wi-Fi and watch the Charter Revision Commission hearing. So I start doing that. Well, I that was my plan. And I don't see there's any option for Wi-Fi on the bus. Where's the option for Wi-Fi on the bus? So I'm going to go talk to the bus driver. But before I bother this guy, I said, let me just check. Do they still do Wi-Fi on the bus? I just Google that very question on my phone, which has now just fleeting moments of battery life left to it. And the answer is no. They discontinued Wi-Fi on the express bus. And they discontinued it in January because they said it was costing too much and not enough people were using it. Well, I was using it. I enjoyed that Wi-Fi. So now there's no Wi-Fi. Of course, they remembered to raise the fares. Okay. They raise the fares and take away the Wi-Fi. So I'm left to only watch this on my phone. I keep watching until the battery dies. And my phone is dead. There's no battery life left to it. So I'm checking out my laptop and hoping that as we're driving all the way up into Manhattan, that there can be some fleeting spots of free wireless internet. And I'm thinking to myself, how am I doing this? How is this the 21st century? Shouldn't there just be Wi-Fi? How is it that I'm hoping and praying that if I go to the right block, there'll be free Wi-Fi that I can get into? How is that the case? I felt like it was straight out of 1995 trying to log on to AOL. So I'm watching this meeting. It's going on and on and on and on. A lot of some good people testifying. And they did the same thing at this meeting last night that they did at the meeting 2 nights ago, which is they went to all the people in person first before going to any of the Zoom people. And Curtis and I were both on Zoom. So now I had to take 3 buses to get up all the way up to East Harlem. And I am already late, right? We're supposed to be there at 6:30. Now, I was told that there's another table coming in after us at 8:30. So I figured the dinner's going to be wrapped up at 8:30. So I made plans with another friend of mine, my friend Pat Russo, afterwards to meet him around 8:45, 9 o'clock, and catch up and chat about a few things. Great guy. And that was my plan. And there's this place right near the radio station. It's called The Parlor. And I said, just meet me at the parlor. We'll get a quick drink or something. And then I'll just go to work. Great. So that was the plan. Rayo's, nice early dinner. Feast is more like the word. Then go down to the parlor. Done. So I get my 3 buses. I'm walking all over East Harlem with an open laptop looking for Wi-Fi in all the wrong places. My phone is now dead. I can't communicate with anybody. I did not get to testify, and I didn't get to see Curtis testify. So I'm hoping that, I will be there, and all 3 of us will be there, and I'll get to at least break away for a minute and see Curtis's testimony. But our other mutual friend is not there. So I walk in, and remember, I've never met this gentleman who's hosting us, Gabriel. I walk in, and of course, who is the first voice that I hear as soon as I walk in? Hey, Morano, what are you doing here? This isn't Staten Island. And I turn around, and it's Bo Dietl. The first face that I see, the first voice that I hear. Hi, Bo. How are you? Man, what are you doing here? Who are you having dinner with? I said I'm having dinner with Gabe. Gabe, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's that table. You're on the moon. You're on the moon. What do you mean I'm on the moon? I don't know what that means, Bo. He says, this is my table. This is the Earth. And that tiny little table over there, that's the moon. You're on the moon. Duh, you dummy. So I walk over to the moon, the table, and have a delightful meal with Gabe and our other friend. And the food is just extraordinary. And Gabe's a great guy. Brings me a book about the history of the 500 Club at Atlantic City. He says, I know you like Atlantic City. And, I can't wait to read this book. I'm going to figure out how to smuggle it into my home because I'm at the point if I bring, my wife would rather see me try to sneak in drugs to our house than try to sneak in another book to our house. That's kind of the point we're at our house. So we have this meal, and I'm starting to wonder, it's getting dark out. I'm starting to think, didn't we have to leave at 8:30 or so? What time is it? So I look at my friend's watch, and it's 8:45. And I'm going to be late meeting my friend. And I said, hey, let me borrow your phone. I borrow his phone. He knows the fellow that I'm meeting. His name is Pat Russo. I said, you have Pat Russo's number? Yeah. He pulls up Pat Russo. And I text him, this is Frank. I'm using so-and-so's phone. And I'll be there soon. Get a very cryptic response back. I said, that's weird. And then my friend says, were you talking about the boxer Pat Russo or the lawyer Pat Russo? I said, no, the lawyer Pat Russo. Oh, he's in my phone as Pasqualino Russo. Okay. And now I got the right Pat Russo. I text him. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Take your time. And I said, I'm sorry, but I have to get down to Midtown. I left the dinner, saw a bunch of great guys. This fella, this character, Joe Nuns, comes by our table. Rayo's is the only place in America where you'll have a guy named Joe Nuns come over to your table. And I'd met him before, and he comes over and he says, hey, what's going on with you? Why are you talking about space so much? He says, you used to talk about gangsters. Why are you talking about space all the time? But he was a cool guy and a good sport. And then Steve Maglio, the singer, who's been a guest on this show, he walks in and he says, oh, Frank, are you going to Tony LoBianco's funeral tomorrow? Yeah, I'm going to go. I'll see you there. Okay. So I say to my friend, I'm sorry. Not only do I have to go, but I can't turn my phone on. Can you call an Uber from your phone? And he says, so not only am I inviting you to dinner, but I have to pay for your Uber. I said, yes, unfortunately you do. I'm sorry. So he says, all right, where are you going? I said, just look up the Parlor. He says, the Parlor. Okay. West 36th Street. I said, no. It's on 49th Street. And he said, okay, got it. But now I'm running really late to meet Pat Russo. I'm at least 20, 30 minutes late. So I get to the parlor, which is, just a little hotel, bar, and restaurant. I walk into the parlor. Oh, the Uber driver, a guy named African gentleman with a name like Botswana or something. That was his name. He had a name very similar to the country of Botswana. And he's got earphones in, no air conditioning. When it was kind of hot. He had his windows rolled down a little bit, which was nice. He's got his earphones in, and he's having a phone conversation with somebody the entire time. But he's speaking very softly. I can't hear what he's saying. He's just speaking very softly the whole time. Just speaking like that. He's talking like that the whole way. But he's loudly playing Christian rock music the entire trip. So we're listening to Christian rock, and he's speaking like this the whole way there with these earphones in his ears. No air conditioning. So takes me to the parlor. Mercifully, this guy had a Google Pixel charger in his car. So I'm able to get about 4% battery by the time I get to my destination. I'm looking around. I don't see Pat Russo. And I take my 4%. I call Pat. I said, Pat, maybe this is a foolish question, but which parlor are you at? And he says, oh, I'm at the one on East 36th Street. Oh, man. So I go out and I hail a taxi. And I take a taxi to the new parlor, and I see Pat. We had a nice chat. We had a drink, and we were chatting a little bit and catching up. And then he dropped me off back here. But it was I never got to see Curtis's testimony. So far, I haven't seen any news articles about it. And this is the kind of testimony that I think would evoke some serious news coverage, given what we've heard from the mayor on the Sanctuary City issue. It should be uploaded on the YouTube by tomorrow, by later tonight, probably by 6 p.m. or so. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that. I can't wait to see that, though, because I have a feeling it was quite fiery. But that is the incredible true story of going to Rayo's and the parlor without a car, without Wi-Fi, and with a dead mobile phone. Straight ahead.
The Other Side of Midnight. It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
up I seen it this way, but there ain't any use in pretending it could happen to us.
47 minutes after the hour. This is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano. Hey, this is really interesting, and I think will be of special interest to our listeners on K-Dawn in Las Vegas. You remember the Mirage? Well, the iconic Mirage casino and hotel is going to close next week after 35 years. But before it shutters, the casino is legally required to give away $1.6 million in unclaimed prizes. I think this is really cool. So at Las Vegas Casino, the Mirage, which is a great property, I've spent some time there, is giving away $1.6 million in prizes in accordance with Nevada law. So it's going to shut its doors on July 17th after more than, 2.5 decades on the Vegas Strip. But before it can close, it has to hand out these big cash prizes in unclaimed progressive jackpots from both slot machines and games. Now, progressive jackpots are owed to players and gamblers, and under Nevada state law, any remaining balances must be paid out before a casino shutters. So the Mirage plans to dole out the cash with guaranteed winnings from now until Tuesday, July 16th. I think my friend is in Vegas now, and I'm going to suggest he make a trip there. The casino, which opened in 1989, is handing out $200,000 in guaranteed winnings on the slots each day until Thursday. Then on Friday and Saturday, the prize is going to rise to $250,000 before dropping to $100,000. And then the slot machine prizes must total $1.2 million, and another $400,000 will be awarded in winnings from table game jackpots. How cool is that? I mean, it's always a shame when a casino closes, but what a way to go out. What a great law in Nevada. So if you're in Vegas, I would absolutely check out the Mirage. The Mirage is going to be converted into a new Hard Rock hotel and casino with an expected opening date in 2027. So that's pretty neat. Pretty neat. I'm hoping to return to Vegas in 2 years. I've decided that once every 5 years is a good amount of time to go to Vegas. I was there in 2016, 2021. I'd like to go again 2026. I think that's a good amount of time. Although, who knows? Maybe I'll go out in January and see WrestleMania. 1-646-720-0635. Matt Blaze, you ever been to Vegas?
I have not.
You've never been, ever?
Nope. Really have no desire to go to Vegas.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you should go at least once.
What I hear is like, yeah, it's good for like 2 days.
Everyone says that. I have always felt, and I'm not one of these Vegas obsessed people like my friend who goes, I think he goes every month. Now, this is a very close friend, but he's also a big lobbyist and everything. And his parents came to the barbecue that Elias was at the other day, or a week or two ago. And I said, "Oh, where's Jack? Is he coming?" And they said, "No, he's in Vegas." And I think it was my wife that said, "What does he always do in Vegas?" And his father says, he claims to have some clients out there. I am not totally convinced that he's going to Vegas for any other reason other than getting away from his wife for a weekend a month. So, but anyway, what I was going to say is, in my experiences going to Las Vegas, I feel like I never have enough time to see and do all the things that I want to do. But everyone says that 2 days, 3 days. I feel like a week is good. There's so much to do there.
What is there to do besides the Mob Museum?
Well, first of all, that's at least 4 hours in and of itself.
All right, 4 hours.
Easy.
Okay.
Easy. You have Hoover Dam, right? You have some terrific entertainment, some terrific restaurants and bars. You have downtown Vegas, which has all sorts of interesting things, including like a neon graveyard and all sorts of other things. There's a lot of stuff in terms of there's just attractions. It's a great place to people watch and everything. Really, I think the restaurants, the bars, the nightlife, the entertainment. Now they have that dome. I haven't been to that dome yet, but
that is true. I would kind of
great.
like to go see the dome.
But there's so much other stuff like that. And there's always just there's always something going on. But I realize it might not have the same allure for you, you not being a drinker or a gambler. Usually, if you don't do one, you could still find plenty to do. If you don't do both, I still think there's a lot to do. But I can understand why maybe 2 or 3 days is enough. There's a great observation wheel. It's called the High Roller, and it's a really cool thing to go on that thing, especially at night, and see the whole Las Vegas Strip all lit up and neon. It's really kind of a cool thing. So it's like that. I still like Atlantic City with the ocean, but it's a totally different vibe out there. It's apples and oranges. It's not even. It's arguable if they're both even fruit. Totally. They both have gambling. That's about it. All right. There was an interesting story about the oldest known photo of a first lady, Dolley Madison. Dolley Madison, I think, has to go down in history as one of our greatest first ladies because she saved, while the British were attacking the White House and invading us during the War of 1812, she had the wherewithal to save George Washington's picture and the Declaration of Independence. On top of that, she managed to be the first lady to serve ice cream at the White House. Really an incredible lady. Anyway, this photo of Dolley Madison has recently been procured by the National Portrait Gallery, which is at the Smithsonian, at auction for $456,000. It was taken later in life. It's estimated that she was in her late 70s at the time of the photo, and she was a pretty groundbreaking first lady. So it's a daguerreotype of the former first lady, and they say it's probably from around 1846. And it joins a host of other early photographic portraits in the collection at the National Portrait Gallery, including what's believed to be the earliest photograph of a U.S. president. Who were we just talking about? John Quincy Adams. An 1843 daguerreotype of John Quincy Adams, which was acquired by the museum in 2017. The Dolley Madison daguerreotype was made by artist and entrepreneur John Plum Jr., and it shows the first lady when she was in her 70s. Plum, who made this picture, was an English immigrant who came to America in 1821. He picked up photography about 20 years after he was here already, and then established studios in about a dozen cities before selling his business in 1847. In addition to his portrait of Dolley Madison, he created the earliest extant image of the U.S. Capitol. So this is really kind of a neat thing. And it sold for $456,000, which is just wonderful. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but why not? Speaking of what things cost, you know the Rayo's sauce empire? What do the people that own the restaurant used to own the sauce? And they don't anymore. It's still their recipe and things like that, but they don't have anything to do with the sauce business. They just allow the name to be used. What do you think they sold that sauce business for? Matt Blaze, any ideas?
$1 million.
Okay, so my guess was 20 million, and I thought that that's a lot. It was sold to, I think, Savos brands for over $400 million.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
That's pretty crazy.
I mean, that is extraordinary. Extraordinary. I was, and then I think it was sold to someone else for an even higher fee than that. But the folks that originally sold it, they got $400 million, or more, which is just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So that was interesting. All right. 646-720-0635, 646-720-0635. You can also find me on Twitter at Frank Morano. That's Frank Morano. And you can find us on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Morano fan. I share a lot of the articles that we talk about on there. And if you follow the page, then there's an opportunity to join the Facebook group where you can connect with other listeners. Oh, I had an update on the story that I brought to your attention, I think yesterday. It might have been the day before. Honestly, I've lost track of the days of the week. This talk show host from Philadelphia on WURD that was fired for admitting that President Biden's campaign sent her the questions, Andrea Lawful Sanders. So the company's CEO, and I have a very tough time believing this, but maybe it's true. The CEO of the company that owns their radio station is saying she wasn't fired. The CEO is saying that she resigned on her own. I have a tough time believing that, but sure enough, CEO Sarah M. Lomax was adamant that the station did not fire her for her actions. She said, quote, Andrea resigned on her own volition. She was not fired. She chose to resign, and we accepted her resignation. I don't know. Sounds a little fishy to me. Your influence counts. Use it.
What if you could have a career where the opportunities are as vast as our nation? Where it's not about mission statements, but a shared mission. At U.S. Customs and Border Protection, we go beyond to protect more than borders. From ship to shore, air to ground, cities to local communities, CBP agents and officers are keeping people safe. Join U.S. Customs and Border Protection and go beyond for something far greater than yourself. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.